Oh my God, what is this? Let me look at this.
Currency scheme that people are engaging in.
Uh-huh.
Would you steal from Whole Foods?
You want to go first? Well,
Right, guys?
I'm pro stealing from big corporations because they steal quite a bit more from their own workers.
If everybody stole from the corporations, then they wouldn't work. Like, how could you be pro stealing? Like, if people stole from then they wouldn't be. How could you run a business if people keep stealing the stuff out of the business? I don't understand. Like, how is that? It's not sustainable. Like, what is it? It's an insane statement. Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, I don't. What?
However, one thing that might even help your ethical dilemma is the fact that the automated process that they design, these companies know will increase shrink, right? So it's actually factored in. The lemons that you stole are factored into the bottom line of these mega corporations, regardless.
And what happens when it gets factored into the bottom line is then that the costs get offset back onto the consumer. This is so only a retard could have this opinion. No normal person could have this. And you have to be like an advanced retard to think like this. And you have to keep in mind, this is very important because Hassan, as we all know, grew up as a rich boy. He did. He grew up like a rich boy, and he was, riding around on horses, playing polo. Oh, look at me. I'm a good boy with my special hat. You don't understand the way that poor people get money and they eat food. Let me explain it to you. There are food banks for people who don't have the income and the resources available that they can simply get that food for free, where it's accounted for, it's subsidized, and it's paid for either by charities, churches, the state, or a combination. So when you choose to go inside of a Whole Foods and you steal something from a Whole Foods, you are foregoing the existing structural socialist design of food banks, of other forms of supplemental assistance that allow people to get food whenever they're poor. So the problem is that what you're doing when you steal something from a corporation is you effectively increase their costs, which hurts everybody else inside of the actual paying people inside of that corporation. And you are not using, and by the way, a lot of these food banks, this is another thing people might not know, they throw away an excess of food every day. So the entire idea that like, oh, well, they're going to run out of food. Yeah, they'll probably run out of cookies, or they might run out of, steaks or something like that. But they're not running out of carrots. Like, I remember my mom went to the food bank and she got carrots, and she got like, I don't know if I can, I'm really not kidding when I do this, guys. I'm not kidding. She got enough carrots to fill this entire box. I swear to God. This was in 2012. And so they give away a gigantic amount of food. Did you eat them? Yeah, we ate a lot of them, right? And like we had stew and everything. And so like there is a massive excess of this food that's being given out. So when you forego the existing structures of, nutrition assistance and everything, and you choose to steal from a corporation, you are doing something that is not only detrimental to the corporation, the workers, and also subsequently the other people that are paying, but you're also foregoing an existing structure that is meant for people that have those problems. It is the most selfish, self-centered, stupid, short-sighted, and unnecessary thing to ever do. You should never do this. Now, if you steal, I'm not going to act like it's the end of the world. I've stolen things many times. But the reality is that the reason why people steal is because they get away with it. Now, I think we need to spend more time preventing people from getting away with it. This is an extremely toxic mindset. And whenever this mindset is done at scale, any sort of distribution becomes impossible. This is why food stores close down. This is why a Dunkin' Donuts shuts down in the middle of Chicago because they keep getting robbed, or a CVS stops, like selling things in a New York or something, or some other fucking high crime area in the LA area. Like, it's tremendously detrimental.
And they still end up having increased profit margins because they no longer have to pay the cashiers that they used to hire, as opposed to this automated system, knowing full well that people are still going to be able to still steal a lot more efficiently, as a matter of fact, through the automated process.
Totally. Well, I was looking things up, and shrinkage is roughly equal internally as externally. Like, they expect it from their employees that they are sort of disenfranchising constantly.
Yeah. But what about the argument that
well, they are, I mean, like, yeah, employees steal stuff. Yeah, that's true. I mean, of course. Even if they weren't disenfranchising those employees, they would still be stealing. And here's how you know that stealing is not for necessity. There are a lot of people that do steal for necessity. But when you're stealing makeup, you're not doing it for necessity. When you're stealing potato chips, you're not doing it for necessity. When you're stealing shoes or hairspray, this isn't necessity.
Everyone just starts stealing wantonly from the self-checkout machines. Whole Foods will eventually raise the prices.
Yeah, chaos, full chaos. Let's go. I mean, look, I'm in favor.
Well, no, that's not what would happen. They're just going to have a police guard that stands there next to the self-checkout, and then they watch you scan the items. That's what's going to happen. It's not going to be full chaos. It's not going to be a run on Whole Foods. And then you pay that police guard, and now the food costs more because they have to pay the guard. Like, that's not even how it works. Like, this is not... What's so funny about this is that it's like it's very one-dimensional in its thinking, because you assume that the company is just going to say, I guess we lose. No, they're going to put different little stickers on it. They're going to put beepers on it. They're going to lock it up. They're going to have different things. Like, for example, at the Walmart that I'm near, I had to have the employee, I went to buy underwear at Walmart, and she made me tell her which underwear I wanted. She wouldn't let me touch it. And then I said I wanted to check out, and she hand carried the underwear from the the underwear section to the fucking cashier, and they gave it to the cashier. It was like, I mean, I'm in my 30s now, so like it wasn't embarrassing, but like if I was like 16, I would have been mortified by this, right? And so it's wild, exactly. And so why? Because they don't want people to steal it, because people keep stealing it. So what you're really advocating for is you're advocating for basically Walmarts to be turned into minimum security prisons, because that's what's going to happen. In a low trust society, everybody doesn't just get Walmarts, and they just give out food for free. No, they have everything behind glass cases. They have police guards there. They have armed guards. They have people watching you. They have everything. So the entire premise of this is just completely misguided. And if Hassan went to Walmarts, if he went to places that were poor, and if he grew up poor and he received food stamps and he went to food banks, he would know all of these things. And you would know this. This is what this panel is it's three upper middle class or upper class liberals that are basically circle jerking each other for stealing lemons from Wendy's or Walmart or Whole Foods. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic.
I'm in favor of fast and free buses and also government-owned storefronts. And, two of those policies the mayor of this beautiful city is currently working on.
Would you encourage stealing in the same way from a Mamdani-run city-owned grocery store with lower prices? And why?
I would not, because I feel like that's taxpayer-funded and the prices are...
Didn't you already pay for it? I mean, how is it stealing if you already paid for it? I mean, see, this is the problem with this ideology, is that it's you can't allow somebody to use their own internal reasoning to justify when it's okay for them to do something bad. It's impossible.
this union labor, and the prices are also adjusted regardless.
So if the price, so basically, I've decided based off of 3 intangible, subjective things that it's okay to break the law. No, the world can't work that way. How can, and like, what's astonishing to me is that any person can listen to this and think that it's not completely retarded. Any thoughts on video game piracy? Piracy is fundamentally different than stealing from a store. Let me explain the reason why. Piracy is not stealing. It's on the spectrum of stealing. It's similar to stealing, but it is not stealing. The reason why it's not the same is because theoretically, everybody could have any sort of movie, video game, or anything else. The only reason why you can't have it is because there is artificial scarcity that's created for it. So the problem is that, like, and again, like, if you take this to its logical conclusion, if somebody was restreaming Hassan's stream, the entire thing with no cuts, and then running additional ads on it, and then making money off of it, and then that stream was gaining popularity and hurting his popularity, I think that he would be upset about that. It would be damaging for him. So the reality is that when you're streaming, like, the expectation for piracy or anything like that is that the act of doing it or stealing will never actually have an effect. When you apply this effect to its logical conclusion that it will become more and more severe the more and the less that it's punished, eventually you reach a crisis point where it's so problematic that you have to deal with it. So stealing entertainment is low on the rung of stealing. It is lower on the rung of stealing. And the reason why is because there's no opportunity cost. There's no scarcity of the amount of times that you can copy over Paint It Black by Rolling Stones. You can effectively give that to everybody, and you can multiply that with really no sort of resources in a way that you can't multiply a lemon. You can't multiply a TV. So yes, stealing a physical object is fundamentally different because there is an element of scarcity to physical products that does not exist with digital products. I'm not saying piracy is good, but I'm saying that it is a fundamentally different thing and it should be treated different. And that's why they're different terms. Is something else? Yeah, exactly. And I mean, all of this, and by the way, all of this is common sense. I think we need to treat these thieves more harshly. I do. I think I want to see people that are stealing lemons. I want to see them get tackled, thrown to the ground, handcuffed, hogtied, and dragged into the police vehicle. I am so sick of these animals ruining my society. We used to have a country. We did. We used to have a country, and now we have a bunch of fat liberal. And by the way, any of those women on the panel would not even dream of stealing. They would be mortified at the idea of it. They would be terrified of this. They're all LARPing so they can virtue signal to their retard audience. None of the people doing this, Hassan's not stealing things. He's not even going to the store. He's probably having it delivered. So it's not even a possibility that it's happening in the first place. So these people are basically, they're writing checks that you have to cash. Now it's you that's the one that's affected. Have you ever stolen something? I've stolen many things. I've stolen tons of things. And if I ever wanted to, I'd do it again. And why would I do it again? Because I want to. That's the reason. Fuck like the, you know, like HEB, Walmart, like any, like the Best Buy. I'd steal it from anybody. If I can get it in my pocket and get it out the door, it's fucking mine. That's it. Why is it not mine? Because I can't take it away from you. That's why. And that's it. And I recognize this. I recognize the pure utilitarian nature of the human condition. Other people want to lie to themselves. I don't. If they cut off my arm, if I stole, I would never steal another thing again. Everything is about incentives. That's it. I would never steal in China. I would never even imagine it. So yeah, that's it. In short, game knows game. Yes, you have to recognize what these people actually are. And bro, you're confusing me. I'll respond back to this, and I want to move on past this. What about what I'm saying is confusing to you? What about that? Because I think that a lot of people get confused by this because they've been led into a hyper reality that's been created by artificial influencers on the internet. I don't think people are used to a person like me talking about things the way that I do. I don't think they're used to it at all. What about this is confusing? I'm wondering why you're saying that you're against stealing, but then saying you want to steal. Because, so, let me give you an example. When I'm driving down the road and a pedestrian gets in my way or a cyclist gets in my way, I want to run them over. I want to hit them with my car and run them over. I think a lot of people feel that way. I do. I recognize that people will always act and behave in a way that is selfish. And I think that society needs to be created with that expectation considered. You cannot expect that people will not do something. Get out of the way. Yeah, exactly. It's a sidewalk retard. Exactly. So everybody has intrusive thoughts. No, you're just psycho. I think that while I am okay doing that, other people are okay doing other things that I wouldn't be okay with. So if you hear what I'm saying and you're saying that sounds insane, I'm sure there are things that you imagine that I would think are also insane. And so that's why we have to have a set of rules in society that manage those intrusive thoughts and those behaviors. Because while everybody might not have the same ones, I think everybody has some of them. And that's the problem. It's the eye of the beholder. Yes, exactly. So does that make sense? So what you're saying you want to, not necessarily that you will? Yeah. Why would I think about it like this? If I could walk into a 7-Eleven and I could just pick up a donut and walk out of the 7-Eleven, not only do I save money, but I also save time. I don't have to sit and talk to the cashier. I don't have to pull my card out. I don't have to put in my PIN number. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is just walk in and get the donut and leave. So in all functions and all ways, stealing the donut would be more efficient and better than paying for the donut, even if you don't even consider the money. And I think that a lot of rational people come to that conclusion. So self-control, exactly. Why do we choose not to steal the donut? Why do we do it? Because there is an incentive that says that if you took away the punishment for stealing donuts from 7-Eleven, there would be no donuts in 7-Eleven. There would be no donuts. They'd be gone because somebody would have stolen them. Does that make sense? Like, I saw Asmon's rich now, so he just steals the love of the game. I haven't stolen anything in like 10 years. Because I don't like you are condoning stealing, but against it at the same time. I am accepting stealing. I accept stealing as a part of the human condition whenever the base values and the base impulses of the human mind are allowed to flourish. I recognize that people steal. I know that they do that. I know why they do it. I know that there actually is not a moral foundation around doing it. They would steal from a small place. They'd steal from a big place. They'd steal from anywhere. And this whole idea of ethical stealing is just a rationalization. They don't actually believe in this. And you can find a million holes in this logic. But at the same time, I think that you have to create a society that does not allow you to do that. Because if you do allow people to do it, the systems that are selling things immediately break down and fall apart. It's impossible to run a society when people think they can steal from it.